I knew that I wasn't in a good place, but I still thought, I don't need counselling. Counselling is for people who have actual things wrong in their lives and who've gone through horrible things, and my life is fine. I have nothing to complain about.
Welcome to the show. Here, I speak with experts and experts at life in heartfelt conversations designed to help us pause, choose intentionality over hustle, and discover joy, meaning, and connection in our everyday lives. Welcome so much to the show, Sashi. It's really, really great to have you here. And just to sort of let the people who have tuned in, if you could just introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure, my name is Sashi Perera. I'm a full-time comedian now. I didn't start off as a comedian. I didn't know this was a career. I am a trained lawyer. I worked in the area for 10 years and then moved to work in the public service. That was for another 5 years. Started stand-up comedy and now I'm here. This is what I'm doing now, which feels very strange.
You were with law for 15 years. What made you think about comedy and at a fairly advanced stage of your career, if I may?
Yeah, God, I'm old. It's true. It's scary.
As am I.
I no, I think I worked in the area of immigration and refugee law for 10 years. And when I came to Melbourne, I moved to Melbourne to do my master's. I was only supposed to be here for a year, and then I was going to go back overseas into that world to keep doing the work that I enjoyed. But I realized, I think, when I arrived in Melbourne, this is all in my book, which is now out, called Standstill, that I was actually quite burnt out. I was quite depressed just because I just hadn't had the support of a community around me, a solid community, because I had been working in different contracts in many different places, which I really enjoyed, but it also meant that my community kept changing. It
Mhm,
was quite transient.
mhm,
And I think when you're doing difficult work, it's really important to have these supports around you, these inbuilt supports. And I kind of forgot about all that, to be honest. I know how important they are now, but also I was in my 20s and I thought I knew everything and I thought I didn't need anyone or anything. I just needed me.
mhm.
So when I arrived in Melbourne, that's when I started counseling. That's when I really started to slow my life down. And yeah, as a result of that, I think I was just in a place in my life where I was just open to new things.
Mhm.
So a friend told me to sign up for this comedy competition. I went and I signed up. I really enjoyed it. And here we are now, which is kind of wild.
It is, it is. If you could talk a little bit, I guess, about the beginning of your comedy career, what was that like? What were you telling yourself to sort of keep at it?
I think I have this advice for young comedians who are starting out because a lot of them are like, should I finish my uni degree or should I go all in on comedy? And for me, I'm quite a conservative person, I think. I am always aware that I have my education to fall back on
Mhm,
if everything in comedy doesn't work out. So for me, it was a very step by step by step process,
mhm,
which probably everyone doesn't need, but that's what worked for me.
mhm,
So I was working my full-time job for the first 5 years
mhm,
of comedy, where I was, and the first 2 years, I was just doing it for fun. It was just so much fun. I was getting paid in drink tokens that I couldn't use because I had work the next day. And I was performing to 5 or 6 people in a room.
mhm,
It's just, I really enjoyed it.
mhm,
I really, really loved doing it. And those 5 to 7 minutes that I got to be on stage, I just felt something inside me really light up. So I think that was the feeling that I really followed.
mhm,
It wasn't, oh, I'm going to make this my career.
mhm,
It was, I have my career. I'm not quite happy in it. I don't know why, and I don't know what the next steps are, but this is a great outlet and I'm having fun. So it was a very gradual move for me, where even up until a year ago, I was still very scared about this being my full-time job.
Tell me, how were you managing your life, your family, your friends while doing a full time job, while doing, I guess, these gigs on the side?
I think, I don't know, I have this personality where I like doing 100 things at the same time, and I'm trying to learn that it's okay to only do 10 things at the same time. And it's okay to sit on the couch. That doesn't mean that you're being lazy, it means that you need rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of us, we saw our parents work incredibly hard,
Yeah.
and many in our lives still working incredibly hard. Whenever I go back to Sri Lanka, I'm very, very aware of how hard everyone is working.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that when I am living life in a way where I'm resting, I feel healthy, I feel well, my priority is my health
Mm-hmm.
and my relationships now. That's an incredibly privileged place to be. And I'm in a constant fight with my mind because it keeps telling me that I'm lazy compared to what everyone else is doing out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I was at a pretty serious point of burnout, and I really, really needed to learn how to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the supports that I put into place when I first started counseling were very helpful. When, some years later, my dad got really sick. He had stage 4 cancer. He just retired. He passed away. And watching him go through that process made me just very aware of actually only retired when he was literally dying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get to that stage.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn to allow myself to rest before I have stage 4 cancer, and then it's okay to rest.
Yeah.
So I think I learned a lot from watching him go through what he did, which was obviously horrific for everyone.
Yeah.
Involved.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. You're talking about therapy. Tell me, how did you think of seeking it? Were there any barriers in your mind when you were thinking of seeking therapy? What was that process like?
I think it's still so stigmatized,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the South Asian community. This question of mental health, even physical health, it's not innate in our communities to take care of ourselves. It's
Yeah.
always take care of others,
Yeah.
work hard. This thing about health is quite new, even in Western societies, I think, and it is slowly coming down to our societies, which I think is a really good thing. But when I moved to Melbourne, I knew that I wasn't in a good place, but I still thought, I don't need counseling. Counseling is for people who have actual things wrong in their lives and who've gone through horrible things. And my life is fine. I have nothing to complain about.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really, really encouraged by friends who were really open about their mental health journeys and how much counseling had helped them. So I reached out to a counselor who was working with a friend. So he was recommended by a friend, and I'm just really glad that whole process just helped me learn how to cope with life when things got hard without running away, without turning to alcohol or whatever other distracting things would
Mm-hmm.
help me cope. It was just things are hard, know that it will pass, rely on those things that you know will help you get through difficult times. And doing that when my dad got really sick, it meant that even at that stage, that was in 2022, even having gone through counseling, how much it had helped me, all of these things. When I started talking to friends about going on antidepressants, because I was at a place where I was finding it incredibly difficult to cope. We were having huge struggles with fertility. We were doing IVF. I had my dad who was sick on the other side of the country. I was working full time. It was all really horrible. And even thinking about going on antidepressants felt like a failure to me because I was like, oh, that's great that other people use them, but I don't need them,
Mm-hmm.
and I still credit getting through that period to antidepressants because for me, oh my gosh, it just helped me get through an incredibly difficult time. So I feel lucky now that I have so many different people that I can reach out to talk about these things without judgment,
Mm-hmm.
because I think one of the hardest things is the stigma and the judgment of when you say, I need help. And if you don't talk to the right people, you're told, oh, things aren't that bad, just keep going, all of these things that might not be particularly helpful to a person at the place and point of life that they're in.
Yeah. I think one of the key things that you're talking about, which resonates with me, is this feeling that, yeah, counseling or therapy is for people who have real problems, and our problems seem quite mundane, and we should be able to, I guess, just pull ourselves together and to be able to say that that's not the case. And, there are maybe patterns that we have internalized from when we were kids, which are not really helping us, and maybe we do need an objective person to sort of help us get out of those patterns. I think that's so critical. The other thing that you're talking about is therapy is still okay, but antidepressants is another level, and again, I've seen that people have that issue of making that jump as well. So what made you get comfortable with the idea of antidepressants?
I think I was at a stage in my life where I knew that I really, really needed help.
Mm-hmm.
But, for example, my mother was very much of the no medication, absolutely not for me. And I felt like I was letting people down. I felt like, if they don't need medication, why do I need medication and all of these things? And I think there are different types for everyone. And I think you need to work with really good doctors to figure out what's right for you, people who care about you,
Mm-hmm.
and also track it. For me, I started coming off them at the end of last year
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to know, because I think of it as crutches for the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And some people need crutches for a little while, some people need crutches forever, some people need crutches only at particular periods of their life. So I didn't know what kind of brain I had. I thought, okay, is this me always?
Mm-hmm.
Is this me when I'm stressed? And I'm just so glad that I got that time to figure it all out,
Mm-hmm.
because I have quite a difficult brain, and I've know now that to manage it requires, you know, proper eating, proper exercise, proper rest. So many
Yeah.
things that I didn't realize in my 20s that I spent a lot of time running away from. So, yeah, I think I honestly got to a point where life was completely unmanageable for me. And the way that that was manifesting was I was just fighting with my husband all the time. I felt like I didn't have the energy for anything. I just felt like everything was just at crisis point all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know how it was ever going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was what it helped me do. I try to explain it, when you're kind of at that crisis state, within the space of an hour, I used to swing from angry to sad to angry to sad to angry to sad. There was so many fluctuating emotions. And the way that it worked for me was that it took away those fluctuations. So I just had space to think,
Mm-hmm.
which I really, really needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they don't work for everyone, and they don't work in that way for everyone, but for me personally, it that's what it did for me.
Yeah. You're talking about something that happens with me a lot, which is when you're depressed, you're basically fighting with your partner. I guess they see the ugliness of it the most. How did your partner support you? Because I know I have gotten so far as to be able to come and speak to you like this is because I have of course, there's the medication, of course, there's other support, but my partner plays a very, very supportive role in just letting me be. How was that with your husband?
It's been a real process for us. We've been together over 7 years now. And I think at the beginning, you're still building so much trust. You're
Mhm.
trying to figure out who the other person is. You're trying to figure out if this is a good relationship. There's just so much to discover and learn about each other. And it's really only once you go through the tough stuff, you learn, okay, how do we react to this? How
Mhm.
do we react to grief? How do we react to disappointment? How do we react to all of these things? And the wonderful thing was that we'd been together long enough to know that we wanted to stay together,
Mhm.
but also my behavior was becoming incredibly problematic, because if you don't know what you need when you are in a bad place, your partner can't help you.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of it. And he know really wanted to be there for me, and he understood, the IVF was hard. My dad is sick. He's in hospital. He's in and out of ICU. everyone's fighting. You know what brown families are like when there's a crisis, just everyone's
Yeah.
on the phone yelling at each other and helping each other and loving each other, but also there's a lot of the yelling.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw what I was going through was difficult, so he wanted to give me as much space as possible, but still he just was like, I don't think you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I don't think you're a problem and our relationship is problematic. It's just he was like, I'm watching you and I don't think you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, initially I was so defensive because I was like, how dare you? My dad's
Yeah.
dying and we're doing it. There's always reasons. But the thing is, they can see, I think they can see much quicker than you can see because they see you every
Yeah.
day and they know
Yeah.
that your emotions and yeah, so I was just incredibly lucky, and I just am so grateful that we have the relationship that we do, that he was able to say that, hey, I don't think I'm here and I can support you, but I don't think you're okay, and I think you need more support than I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we figure this out?
Yeah, I think we'll come to the comedy bits in a bit, but one of the
Yes, got
reasons.
real dark, hey? How exciting. But they're important
Yeah.
conversations, I think. And I think people see comedy and they're like, "Oh my God, their life was maybe like light and butterflies all the time." And it's, life is the same for everyone. There's good bits and there's bad bits and heaps of bits in between, and you
Yeah.
need to figure out how to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons I personally resonated with you, among the many that I've already told you, is the process of, you guys trying to get pregnant, and then your decision to sort of choose to step away from that. If you could talk a little bit about what that journey has been, what you've learned along the way, how you finally got to the decision, what helped you, that would be great as well.
I think it was for me, we always said if it was going to work for us physically, emotionally, financially, like those were our three indicators that
Mm-hmm.
we eventually got to because we knew a few people who had kept trying and we listened to a lot of different podcasts and read a lot of different articles about IVF because, you know, IVF success is only when it ends in a baby, but you look at the statistics for people over 30, over 35, over 40, and it just kind of drops and drops and drops and drops and drops.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes, okay, well, how many rounds will you do? Each round is very expensive, and also it is so much on the body
Mm-hmm.
and it's so much on the relationship, and it just for me, I think after this, because even before we started IVF, we'd had three miscarriages from natural pregnancies. So we were already in a pretty tough space emotionally
Mm-hmm.
and physically for me as well. And then we had dad and started IVF, and it was all just so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was after the second round that I told Charlie, I'm finding this all incredibly difficult, and I'm happy to keep going, but I don't want to keep going until we get a baby. That can't be success
Mm-hmm.
for me because that might not happen, and that's a reality that we start need to start discussing. What does life look like?
Mm-hmm.
If And that's what my next show is going to be about, not just about baby stuff, but that thing in your relationship and with someone you love, when there's this thing that you really really want and then you can't get it, what do? Do you break up? Do you go your separate ways? Because you only get one life,
Yeah,
and if you can't get this one thing, what does that mean? But funny, I'm trying to make that funny.
that's good.
That's what I'm writing at the moment. But yeah, so our fourth round of IVF worked, and we were pregnant again. It was really exciting, and we thought everything would be different this time. It had been 3 years between pregnancies. I was so excited. And then we had a miscarriage in exactly the same way as we had the three previous times. No explanation, no reasons, no nothing. So the official advice was to keep going. And I think for me, physically and financially, we could still keep going. But emotionally, I just said, this is going to break me. And so that's when we decided, okay, that's enough. That doesn't mean we've closed the door on it completely, but it had been 3 years of insanity.
Yeah.
And I just wanted I needed a break and space, and now I'm in the best physical and mental health that I've been in for a really long time. So I know that was the right thing to do, but it was really hard at the time because, women, it always feels like we're running out of time. We're
Yeah.
running out of time for everything. Always, you're running out of time. You're running out of time. You're running out at 25, and for me, I'm glad that I didn't have a child earlier. I met Charlie at 31, and I had lovely people in my life before then, but I specifically was in no place to have a child with anyone. There was still so much that I needed to figure out about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just wasn't a possibility for me to be a good mother before this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that means it's just too late at this moment in time, I'm like, honestly, that's fine. Because if I had done this earlier, I would have been a really shitty mother. So I'd rather not be a mother at all. That's fine.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we need to figure ourselves out a little bit before we can go and create another human being. Because it's not just about the creation, you also have to support them in the best way possible. So that's,
And I think people really minimize that as well because, the rhetoric is no one's ever ready for a baby. You never, you just grow into it. And it's like, no, not everyone grows into it. And some people have a really terrible time as a result of it. So if there are people who are just taking a bit longer, I think that should be supported and celebrated, not whatever this is, where it's just like, well, you're running out of time. Have a baby, quick, with anyone. Is he breathing? He's fine. Quick, hurry up. Time's running out.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I guess that's what drives women also to sort of start freezing eggs, which is great. But that's really what it is. That there's this big thing that you have to have a baby, and you're running out of time. So it's quite a complicated narrative. But moving to more positive things, what is it? What's the kind of support that you got which helped you sort of come to this decision and rest easy with it?
I think having the support of my partner was really, really important. I think if he'd wanted to keep going, I would have kept going because, if he said, another 2 times, let's do another 2 times and then we can start, or something like that. It's a
Mm-hmm.
constant negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
But both of us found that fourth miscarriage just so crushing. It was crushing, it was enough for us to support each other and to stay sane after that. Because people think miscarriage is a moment in time, but it's actually a process that can stretch on for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all just so awful. So we were just supporting each other through that. And then once we made the decision, I think I'd been very open about our journey, which helped.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has to be like that. I think everyone has to find their own way through it. But for me, there was so much shame and silence around this whole topic. And I just thought, I can't carry this alone.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. And I can't carry it just with Charlie because I just feel like, as much as it is a shared sadness, I feel like still there's so much blame on the woman. And I just thought it's going to crush me. Like, this feeling of guilt is going to crush me if I don't start talking about it, which is the main reason that I started talking about it. So I think because we had been so open after the fourth miscarriage, everyone knew what we had been through, everyone knew what we'd been doing. So there was no, oh, are you sure? It was like, hey, yeah, take a break. No one can say that you haven't tried.
Mm-hmm.
Just do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that felt really good, having the support of both sides of our families. And it's still hard, Charlie has three siblings. I have one sibling, and they're all married. They all have kids, and we're the only ones in the family who don't have kids. So, that's a hard place to be, but having their support has meant a lot. And I think if we hadn't been open about it, it would have just been, oh, those two are just off having fun, they're just concentrated on their careers. And actually, no, like, I'm 39 now, and we were trying to have kids from the time I was 34. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a good while that we were trying for.
Mm-hmm.
And it just might not be in the cards for us. And being able to confront that potential outcome
Mm-hmm.
has been really, really helpful for both of us, because then it doesn't mean we do anything at any costs for this to be a success. It is, we're redefining what success is. And for us, it's if we are healthy and our relationship is healthy, that's a pretty big outcome from the absolute hell that we've been through fertility wise.
The whole point, I guess, of this conversation is to say that this is my journey, it's different from other people's, and I get to decide what my life success looks like and what a good life for me means. And it's not about, so you're a woman, you're married, and now the next thing you have to do is to pop out a child, and if you don't, you're really missing out on something, and that you
It's
need to.
also once you pop out a kid, then they're like, when's the other kid coming? You know, like it's there's no end to the success you're supposed to be continually having. So I think that's why it needs you need to kind of stop at each moment and be like, is this what I want? Is this healthy for me? Is this good for my relationship with my partner, my family, my friends, my community, whatever it is, just kind of it's okay to just take a moment and be like, I don't know if this is what I want. I don't know if this is good for me. All of those questions are valid.
Yeah. Doing a little bit of a track, I guess. You were a lawyer for 15 years. You moved into comedy. You said you sort of entered a competition, I guess, a little bit by fluke.
Total fluke.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
total fluke.
What were you thinking? Were you at some point thinking, this is my goal, I should be good at it? What are people saying about it? When can I start monetizing it? Just being able to spend time doing something which doesn't have a fixed outcome. I think our generation kind of struggles with that, saying that we need to be productive all the time, or we need to sort of justify what we're doing with our time. And clearly you were at it for a really long time before you became successful. So what is the narrative that you were telling yourself?
I tried to hang on to my day job for as long as I could. Like it was a stable, secure job. And it just became a choice between comedy, my day job, and health. Like one of those things was going to have to go because the balance was just not possible anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And my health was non-negotiable. Comedy was, it just brought me too much joy. So just by process of elimination, it had to be my day job. So that was and Charlie for ages had been telling me, you're going to be fine. Opening up yourself to full-time comedy will actually mean that you have more time to create, more time to do gigs. You will have more time and it's a good thing. Whereas for me, it was just terrifying. You know, it was we have a mortgage. I am almost 40 years old. You don't just run off to do comedy. The day that I properly resigned from my job and knew that I wasn't going back, I did a little video. It's on Instagram somewhere because I was walking around feeling like I was going to vomit
Mm-hmm.
for 2 weeks. Like it was a very physical thing for me. And, you know, that week I had a book that was coming out. I was recording my audiobook. I was on two different TV shows. And I still was like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to work out. So I
Mm-hmm.
think your mind is always trying to protect you. Anytime that you step outside the norm, it's going to be really, really scary. And for me, what really helped me take that step, I was really pushed to it. I had to, if I wanted to be healthy and keep doing comedy. And the reality is, we all need money, and that's important. And many people I do know in the arts do many different things to kind of patchwork an income
Mm-hmm.
together. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think it can be a little, then half, and then you can do 80% and then decide
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah. Tell me, what have you learned about human behavior from comedy?
I love how much everyone just wants to laugh. If you're up on stage and you're looking down into an audience, you will mostly just see people smiling up at you. You're so ready to laugh. It just feels like a way to manufacture joy, and it feels like the antidote to the news. You know, everything on the news is everything's horrible, everyone hates everybody. If you manage to get people to a live show, everyone's laughing together. For me, that's the whole point. That's why I share comedy online. The whole point is to try to get people to live shows.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are mostly good by nature and are mostly on your side. So I think we're exposed to the worst of humans on the news, on internet troll comments and things like that. But in a room all together, it's just lovely. I think it always restores my faith in humanity.
That's so great. Your book stands still. I haven't read it, but I've read about it. I've started reading it. And I guess it is about trying to figure yourself out. What would your advice be to people who are trying to figure their lives out?
I think, I thought that I'd ruined my life beyond repair at 30. I think I was very hard on myself and on mistakes that I made. And I think the advice would be everyone makes mistakes, and you do have to learn how to get through them, and you don't have to move countries just because you've made a mistake.
Right.
Um, yeah, I feel like those were my main takeaways from all the mistakes I made in my 20s. And I continue to make mistakes in my 30s, but I think I know better how to apologize now or move through it.
Finding space for yourself. As women, especially, it becomes quite difficult to step away from doing things for others or even being able to prioritize health. Everyone in our generation thinks got to get stuff done, we've got to be stable, we've got to have reached some point, and becomes so hard to sort of talk about eating well. Somehow there's no importance that given to that, right? You're just running between meetings or running between whatever chores there are that life throws at you, and you don't think about um, the fact that eating well is something that requires thought and process and that it has a huge
I
impact.
First time in my life is this past year where I've learned to just slow down, learn how to cook. What do I actually enjoy eating? 3 meals a day, all of these things. I was just, diet plays such a huge role in everything, in managing your stress, managing anxiety, making sure you can sleep at night, all of these things that I just never learned and actively didn't care about, actually. So, and I also think in our culture, if we think too much about us, take time to learn about ourselves, you're quite selfish actually, because you should be giving to others all the time. But also, you don't have much to give if you're not in good health.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it that finally made you take a step back, and it is quite a significant change, right? Figuring out processes to make sure that you actually have decent nutritious food in front of you at the right times. That actually takes quite a sea change in your the way you set up your life. So how did that come about?
I went to see I'm not sure if you'd call them a dietitian or a nutritionist after the fourth miscarriage. I've been feeling horrible for 3 years now, and they don't know what's wrong with me. I've had every test under the sun. And it was only through the dietitian, like after the second miscarriage, I was anemic. My iron levels were at a level where I actually need a transfusion. So
Hmm.
I think I was just at a stage where I was just feeling horrible all the time. I just felt really tired all the time. Even after I'd had a really long sleep, I would feel really tired. And it was only once I started working with a dietitian, it was like everything's low. My vitamin D was so low, my iron was so low. So it was supplements and tablets and lots of red meat and all of these things that I just hadn't thought about in ages. And so, and I started feeling so much better as a result of it. How many people out there felt this way? But as I was growing up, I saw women doing all of the work in the kitchen
Of
and the
course.
men telling them how great they were at cooking. Just, oh, you're just better at it. So I think when I was younger, I very much on purpose didn't learn how to cook because I thought, well, if I don't learn how to cook, no one can ever tell me that I'm a better cook than they are and then make me do all the cooking. And then it was only once I started living alone, I was like, oh my God, this is actually a really important skill.
Absolutely. And agnostic of gender.
Exactly. This is really, really important. So that's a journey I'd already been on. And now I feel like I'm learning the difference between quick food and good food. And that's just been a whole big process to go through.
If you had a dream for the world, what would that be?
Oh, God, a dream for the world. Which part of the world? No. To just know that you're okay as you are. You don't have to get that promotion. You don't have to get that ginormous house. You don't have to get that really expensive car. You don't have to have that perfect partner. You are great as you are. Everything else is a bonus. Try to take pleasure in exactly where you are because that's really what's helped me through this whole process.
Thanks so much, Shashi. I think more of us need to hear that. Thanks so much, Shashi. Really lovely talking to you. And I'll go ahead and read your book, and all the very best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. It was such a nice chat.
For tuning in. I'll look forward to your comments and feedback. Before you go, can I ask for a favor? If you like the show, would you consider subscribing? It's an easy way to support us. And we promise to keep doing what we're doing and try and do even better. Thank you.